After a hard-fought win up at the Brick Community Stadium against Wigan on Saturday, Reading were brought down to earth by Exeter. A drab 0-0 draw leaves us in a reasonable position, but as we've just said off air, possibly out of the playoffs after those 2 points dropped last night at the Stade DSCL. We're back together, myself and Mr. Webber from across the oceans. We haven't been together for a while, have we? On the
No,
pod,
we
just
haven't.
me
We're
and you. We're
keeping.
always guests.
It's true. We're keeping our special relationship alive, even if the country in which I'm living is throwing its relationships in the toilet. I'm still here, Tilehurst and listeners, and I'm still
He's still
pursuing
fighting.
my. Yeah, exactly.
He's still fighting. Ross, are you gonna wish me happy St. David's Day?
I
Because
didn't
that
know
was
this is a thing until earlier this week. So
massive.
this is a thing, apparently.
Yeah.
Happy St. David's Day to you, to Chem Campbell, to Billy Bowden, to Charlie Savage,
Whoop.
to apparently Reading's dad now, Robbie Savage.
Yeah.
Was there again last night. Apparently was chatting to the BBC Bark slot at halftime. So you're gonna have to get in there, Ben. Your friend's been stolen.
I think I'm going to have to. Yeah. I mean, it to be fair, it was on Saturday, so we've a few days past. A bit like this pod, really. We always try and do so when we've got the two games in quick succession. We always try and do it after those two games in terms of the bracket, because otherwise we end up missing the midweek game out. So it's quite nice to give you. Well, we think it's quite nice to give you the analysis from both games. Before we move on, Ross, who is your favourite Reading Welsh player ever
Of all
Not just
time?
now.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the name of that guy who left that I didn't even remember the name of? I think. This is a tough one.
You didn't know the name of? What are you talking about?
The one we had a few weeks ago. I don't know not a John Rudge. That's a Port Vale thing. I don't even know anything Reading pre 2005. I don't know. Who's my favorite Welsh Reading player ever? Probably Chris Gunter. I'm kind of with you on the I like Chris Gunter train. Really, I didn't really ever have any issue with him. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else that comes to mind, but yeah, I like Chem a lot. I think he's a good player. Good fun.
I don't think he's ever been capped at senior. I think he's under 21. I need to check.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris. Look, I know I've lost listeners because of this, but Chris Gunter was a great player for us, and I know that there's another website that I don't want to mention or whatever they're called, fan site or X account or whatever, that are doing this chart of players that fit into brackets of how they're viewed. But I think Chris Gunter is really much maligned. I really do.
Yeah, I got no problem with
it. You don't get over 100 caps for your country if you are rubbish. You just don't do it. And with Chris Gunter at Reading, he was picked consistently by what, 3 or 4 managers?
Yeah, that is always a good point. Yeah, if you're picked consistently by managers with different ideas, it's a good. It would be nice to. It would have been nice to have a Chris Gunter type at left back of these last few years. Would have made a lot of difference, I think.
Well, we'd have him at right back now, right? We're going to talk about that later on with.
Well,
with
yeah, exactly.
But of course, there's only one man really at the moment, and that is Charlie Savage, the maestro, the midfield hero. People are finally waking up to my propaganda train that has been rolling down the track, and now he literally it's like God.
Right,
basically,
okay.
or whatever. Yeah, I was going to try and come up with some sort of weird analogy, but I won't. He's just great at the moment. Absolutely great.
Yeah.
So, if you are of Welsh heritage, if you are a Reading Welsh fan, if you are a Welsh Reading fan, whatever, happy St. David's Day for Saturday. Hope you had a good day. We're going to say thank you as always to Said Films, who's sponsoring this pod and every single pod, whether it's St. David's Day or not. They're always there for us through thick and thin and thin and thick or whatever. So thank you to them. Thank you to you guys for tuning in to episode 410. It's not finished yet. We're just getting started, so buckle up. We're going to talk about a great win, a delicious win up in Wigan on Saturday first. And then we'll talk about last night if we have to. We must, I suppose. We must. So short break, and then we're going to do the recap, a double recap, just for you.
Recap squared.
Be loud and be proud and back the boys and make some noise. Come on, you Oz!
Shout out to this week's podcast sponsor, ZCZ Films, showing that age is no barrier to being a hula hoop.
Welcome back to episode 410 of the Tilehurst podcast. Ross, before we move any further, are you gonna ask me how I feel at the moment?
How you feel? What are you talking about?
Like John Cena turning heel at the Elimination Chamber.
Oh my word! I didn't even
know about it.
This. No. I saw Tyler Binden wrestling last night.
Yeah.
So I mean, who would win in a no holds cage match, or whatever it's called, between Tyler Binden and John Cena? Do you think?
Probably John Cena.
Yeah, I'd say
he's
so.
A professional wrestler, and even though he's pure evil now.
Yeah.
I think the better question is who would make the best professional wrestler who is currently on the Reading roster.
Amadou and Bengay. Sorry, I don't even need you to finish the question. It's Amadou and Bengay. It's all about showmanship and athleticism and acrobatic ability, isn't it? Like, it's about being able to be light on your feet, be able to take a hit, and then get up and milk the crowd. You know, like, I love wrestlers. They're incredible athletes.
Part of me thinks Jaden Wareham would be quite good because he's quite strong, isn't he?
He is a beefcake, yeah. I've started calling him a beefcake in my head recently, and I haven't been able to get away from it. Which, yeah. Wait, real quick, John Cena, sorry, he's evil now, my bad, but he's a New England resident, or at least he's from New England. Sorry, he's from Massachusetts,
Newbury, Massachusetts.
Yeah, exactly. It's about an hour south of me here, and he loves Hondas, so he's all over the Honda. Yeah, he loves them. So he drives a Honda Civic. He's all over the Honda adverts.
He does not.
He does, yeah. It's like LeBron drives a Kia because he likes those for whatever reason. So, yeah.
This is a bit like Paul Scholes at United. I think it was Paul Scholes where he used to just turn up in like the most like boring car.
If you don't want your car to get hit or like constantly have people, you know, taking pictures of it, you know, or throwing things at it, don't buy a Cybertruck, you know, like this is how it works. So Good so anyway, yeah, John Cena, he loves a Honda. He's all over the Honda commercials in America.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's fun. He's good. He's good celebrity in that pantheon.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but he's evil now, so I was a bit sad about that.
Yeah.
On Sunday morning, I was a bit sad.
So is Tyler Binden. He's turned heel as well. So anyway.
Well, listen, I mean, we can talk about the beefcake Jaden Wareham because he was on the score sheet on Saturday, wasn't he? Really positive result for us. And of course, Tyler Binden as well, 85th minute. So real turnaround for us in that game up at the Brick Community Stadium. I like that. I like that name for us. I think that's a great name for a football palace. I think great.
It's all right. I just like that place is the JJB to me, or the DW.
Yeah,
you know, Wigan. I always think Roberto Martinez or Paul Jewell, and the less said about Paul Jewell, the better. But you know, always interesting. That's what I think.
It's quite cool. Like, what are you doing today, Pet? Because they all say that up north. Just going down the Brick to watch some soccer.
Yeah, going down Brick. Yeah, that's fair. But anyway, let's talk about what happened on
the game. Yeah, so we went behind Jason Kerr, 59th minute, shall we say. I mean, all goals are avoidable, aren't they? But that one was in my opinion, pretty avoidable. You know, wasn't great from a defensive point of view. And then, you know, we're up against it, really. Jaden Wareham, you know, really nice finish. Really
good ball from Savage.
Yeah, great ball from Savage. But the thing about Wareham, and this is going to sound very Tim Pot, but the celebrations are great, right? There's a real joy in those celebrations, and that's a really nice thing to see from a fan's point of view in terms of scoring a goal and then celebrating in that way, like a little bit of showmanship, a little bit of athleticism, or a lot of athleticism. And then, of course, you're thinking, right, do you know what? We'll take
Wait. Can I, while you're talking about that celebration real quick, can I just, my own tin pot or tinfoil hat theory thing, do you think Noel is starting Jaden so much because he's got the same celebration Noel used to have?
Do you know what? I think there's a good connection between those two.
I agree.
I think Noel believes in him a lot, and I think, you know, Wareham's taken pelters this season. Like he's been absolutely rinsed by quarters of the fan base. And Noel, ever since he's come in, has really persisted with him. Obviously, he's got. Well, it's wrong to say he hasn't got a choice. He has got a choice, but he's really putting all his eggs in one basket with him being, the man to lead this team in the final third for us. But I think there's something in that. I think there's something in that. I really do. So yeah, we go back to 1-1, and then you're thinking that's all right. That's an okay result. And then our man, Forest's man.
Forest man turned heel man, evil
Turn heel man, yeah, exactly.
Evil
Tyler
Tyler.
Bigley turns heel, yeah, exactly. 85th minute,
Yep.
brilliant stuff.
Yeah,
Absolutely
good stuff.
brilliant. And that is the kind of result that potentially gets you in the playoffs. Coming from behind, away from home, against a team in Wigan who have not been great, who have subsequently sacked their manager Sean Maloney. The Reading effect. We're so back. We're so back. Getting managers sacked.
Giving Reading away wins, especially from a losing position, which this is only our second of the year. Yeah, you're right. That's it. You're not.
Yeah,
come on, these guys can't even
string
3 passes together in the attack.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But really, really, really good result, Ross. What did you make of the game itself?
Yeah, I agree. This was a good result. It was good to see Reading again kind of try to just go into an away game with something of like a sensible plan, whereby they just kind of keep it kind of solid. They don't let too much happen at all throughout the first hour of the game. But I think that it became quite clear that even when Wigan scored before us, that we were the better team. We were producing more. I think Wigan. So we talked a little bit there about how it's a good pass from Savage into Wareham for Wareham's goal. The reason he was able to do that is because Wigan were just leaving far too big spaces in the middle of the pitch. It was causing them huge issues. The way that Wigan were pressing was having 2 wide forwards going really high, and I think they were probably trying to disrupt us passing from like Mbenge to Rashisha or from Bindon to Garcia to stop us going down the wings that way. But the problem with that is it left a huge amount of space for Wing and Savage to just wander into the middle, repeatedly make passes straight through. On top of that, Reading were able to recover the ball high. They got 7 high recoveries to Wigan's 2 in that game. They only allowed 11 passes before a defensive action versus Wigan's 15. So they were really on top in this game. One thing I will say, though, is that before Akonde came on, I think they were struggling to kind of put it together in the final third. And I think that Akonde made a difference in that game. And we'll talk about Bowden a bit more in the summary of the Exeter game. But I think that performance from Akonde was really good for the team, in that it kind of lit a fire under Bowden, and that, all right, this kid's back now. He's already started games this season. My chance to start in the rest of these games could disappear quite quickly if this kid gets ahead of me in the lineup. So I think that was good, and that led to the performance that we saw from Bowden in the first half. So in general, good performance from Reading. I think that there were things that the opposition that Wigan were doing that, I'm not surprised Sean Maloney got sacked afterwards. It was tactically inept, in my opinion. There were just huge holes that Reading, like we've talked about, there is a way to beat Reading. The way to beat Reading is to give them a lot of the ball, but don't allow Lewis Wing to have it. That's what Exeter did to us last night, basically, after the first 15 minutes or so. And Wigan just did the opposite. So if you do the opposite against, arguably the best player in the league, and then his decent supporting cast of midfielders around him, you're going to have a bad time, as the kids would say. So yeah, really good performance from Reading, but really good to see them come from behind. But yeah, I do think that Wigan were really poor.
I mean, there is a newfound resilience away from home since Noel Hunt has come in. We've looked a lot better, and statistically have picked up more points away from home under Noel Hunt. I believe I don't have the figures because I'm a lazy co-host and didn't do the research, but I know that we've done better away from home than we did with Sellers.
I think we will have done now that we've got that win. Yeah, possibly against Wigan. But and again, obviously we'll get into Exeter too. But I think the same things that make us pretty solid, pretty good away from home, then become issues when we play at home against weaker opposition, basically.
Well, I mean, on those issues, we've got massive ones, large ones at right back.
Large issues.
Is out for the season. If you're one of those people that relies on this pod to give you breaking news, then breaking news: Michael Craig is out for the season. He will not be returning. Whether or not he returns in a Reading shirt, full stop, remains to be seen. He is one of the out of contract players that Ross ran down. I think the pod before, I don't know,
sometime recently.
Yeah. But he is out of contract along with 95% of the playing squad we have currently. I mean, Yiadom came back and played 20 minutes, 22 minutes on Saturday.
Yeah.
Rashisha was the go-to man on in the lineup up at Wigan. What are we going to do about the right back spot?
It's a problem because like we just said, teams often like to stop Reading giving the ball to Lewis Wing, and Michael Craig was one of the players that Reading would go, okay, fine, we can go through him instead. He was really making a difference. He was really connecting well with Chem Campbell down the right. I don't think he was perfect. I think that Reading's chance creation all season has been a bit hit and miss. But I do think that when Wing wasn't able to have, a more influential game, I think Craig was one of those players that really was able to step up. So, yeah, it's not ideal. It's certainly not ideal to have that there. I know we've got a bustling mailbag later, so I'm just going to pull out an email now, which is a little bit out of order. But
it is out of order, but I'll let it pass this once.
Thank you. It's Alex again. Alex is back. Wrote a good article last week, so go check that out. But he says that it was strange that with no Craig available and inevitably Yiadom planned to come on at some point in the second half, we started Rashisha instead of Ahmed or even a Brafer. I think that Rashisha
starting ahead of Brafer is madness to me.
Yeah, okay. I think Rashisha has earned a go, and his contract also ends in the summer, so the club needs to have an idea of what they have with him. However, I do completely see where Alex is coming from. I would probably prefer to go with a Brafer. A little bit of it comes down to what you want from your back four when we move up the pitch, right? Like, does playing Rashisha mean that Garcia can go and play silly buggers, further up the field? I was looking at the defensive actions for Reading, the chart, which, by the way, I put this on Blue Sky. This guy called Ben Griffiths does incredible data work for League One as well as all of the big leagues, obviously. You can actually go in there and see Reading's pass maps. You can see where they're making dangerous passes from. You can see their passes into the final third. All of these kinds of things, which is...
Talking of analysts, haven't we got the analyst for... haven't we got him coming on pretty soon?
Well, it's a different analyst, but we will...
Yeah, I know, but just ballpark.
Met an analyst lad who is interested in coming and chatting with us. Yeah, I think so. So that should be fun.
He's not just an analyst, he's the analyst.
The analyst, possibly. Well, yeah, we got to work that out. So let's not reveal too much just yet. But yes, there is potential for something pretty exciting. No, you're right. There is. I'm excited too. I just want to, you maybe send an email back before I do that. But if you've sent an email to us and I haven't responded to you yet, just know it's because I'm very lazy.
He does it to everybody. It's not just...
Yeah. You're not the only one that's, got an email waiting in the Tilehurst end email inbox from me. So don't even worry about it. Where was I? You've got me right off track.
A Brafer.
Yes. Look, you could see there was a big hole on the side with the defensive actions chart. There was a big hole on Garcia's side in the defense. I think some of that was because Garcia didn't have the best game last night, but I also think some of that was because he's being asked to go much further down the field and get a little bit more inverted than the right back is on the other side at the moment. I think that changes a bit when Yiadom comes on. But Garcia seems to be doing kind of interesting things. I really liked what he was doing with Kamara and Savage against Wigan. They were kind of moving just like they would move very freely once they got up into the final third together. So they would kind of alternate who was in the wide position, who's in the half space. It just worked out really nicely. They had like quite a lot of good little moves. Nowhere near as fluid, unfortunately, against Exeter. And so, look, maybe Rashisha, my point is, allows you to do what you want to do with Garcia, and that's what Hunt is looking for. But I can totally see that if you wanted to have, both fullbacks being able to attack forward with pace, you play a Brafer. You don't necessarily play Rashisha there, because I think Rashisha's good with his feet, but he does sometimes make decisions that mean that he has to use that decent ability with his feet to wipe up mistakes that he has made rather than to progress the ball positively immediately. So decent player, still got some learning to do. I think it comes down to what do we allow Garcia to do on the other side.
I mean, I think we were pretty gobsmacked on this pod when Andy Yiadom came back, because I think we said probably the turn of the year we didn't think we'd see him in a red and shirt again. And he's literally clawed his way back. So
nice moment, by the way, when it was quite touching moment when Wing put the armband on him, I thought.
Nice.
Good for you,
right back seems to be one of those things that splits fans. We talked about Chris Gunter right at the start of the pod, Andy Yiadom as well. Like, I've always thought that as a player, Yiadom is all right. I thought he's okay. I think there are lots of things you can say about his leadership style. I think there are, in the purest sense of the word, in terms of old school captains, does he fit that mold? Not sure, but then I don't know what a captain is these days in football, really. I grew up watching football in the early to mid 90s and having players like Roy Keane and Patrick Vieira as the kind of the model for what a captain should be. And we had some great captains at the club at that time. Phil Parkinson, we talked about in the last pod, Graham Murty, outstanding. That people that were kind of really visible in the community, but also would, for want of a better word, bollock people on the pitch and really go for it and get stuck in. And that's not football anymore, really. You can't just rely on lumping people around a pitch and shouting in people's faces. So
especially with a very young team.
Exactly. And I think he's been captain of the club at its lowest ebb. You think back to when there was the confrontation at Peterborough with the bus, and he was talking to fans, all this kind of stuff. Like he's had a really tough time of it at this football club. So from a personal point of view, seeing him back was great for him, because he's been out for so long, and he's a good guy. Andy Yiadom. Every time I've met him, he's always been incredibly friendly and just good, just a good egg, basically. So it leads us on to Exeter, same team. Interesting front three at the moment. We'll talk about that in a minute. But whichever way you spin it, that result last night was just absolute pigeon food. Honestly, it was really, really bad. It's 2 points dropped. There was all this excuse about players being tired and all these theories and stuff. But ultimately, if you want to get in the playoffs, you need to be winning those games. And
you got to be Exeter and Shrewsbury at home, basically.
Have to do it. And we talked about this before we came on. We're kind of the opinion that is probably playoffs gone now.
It's tough, probably. Right? Because probably, I think that it's tough when I think about, like, not just the Exeter game. It's kind of the Shrewsbury and the Exeter game in totality. If we had those 4 points right now, we'd be sitting in. We wouldn't be sitting in sixth place, but we'd be sitting on the same number of points as Huddersfield with a game in hand. So I think it's tough, because I think we are struggling on Tuesday nights. I think you can almost chart the tiredness of the team in Harvey Nibbs's tackle rate, basically. Like the amount he gets around the pitch. He was just, and I don't blame him, I'm sure he's exhausted, but he was pretty anonymous last night. I wrote down in the ratings that he had a few good defensive moments, but he just looks tired. And when you're a player that relies on your energy to get around the pitch and make a difference, then it's he's not a Charlie Savage who's going to rake balls, or Lewis Wing, whereby he can stay relatively immobile and still make a big difference. Like, his difference maker is his legs and his engine. So,
well, I mean, for me, Wing and Nibbs were were very poor last night. Very, very quiet. We brought in Tom Carroll. Before the game on a I was going to say Bosman. Show my age. Free
close.
transfer.
Yeah.
Transfer short term transfer until the end of the season, having been released by MK Dons previously. I mean, aside from his potential qualities or what he can bring to the team, holding midfielder having the number 11 shirt, Ross.
I mean, we gave Billy Bowden the 10 right away too, isn't it? We're just giving them whatever we've already got printed.
I'm
Rip off the old.
now.
Was that Femi's number? I can't quite remember. I think it was. Yeah. So we're just giving out the numbers of the star players that left. Yeah, whatever. It's fine. Bring in a goalkeeper. Give him 10. Don't even worry about it.
Why?
Oh wait, real quick. I don't know if Wing was super poor last night. I think again they went after him, so that was part of the issue. But if you watch back, by the way, Exeter's goalkeeper is really annoying. Like he's a short.
They're an annoying team, though.
McGuinness
is whinging.
Yeah, but
McGuinness Caldwell, mate. He's a classic whinger.
But that really Caldwell was so bad last night.
But you text a group and say, "Is he there?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is." And then he got booked.
Yeah, no, he lost his little mind last night. I don't even know. He was like trying to start a fight with the linesman at one point. I was like, look, mate, you know when you've had a bit of a paddy, and you know that if you climb down now, you're going to look a bit silly. So you've got to keep the paddy going so that it looks like you're not, a complete idiot.
Go and kick a ball, mate.
Go and kick a ball. Yeah, like literally. I think I wrote... hang on. I wrote for Charlie Savage yesterday. I wanted to pull this up. Got a crucial block in during a scramble in the Reading box. Shortly after, ran directly into Gary Caldwell when he was being annoying. So that's good. Yeah. So that was my top note for Charlie Savage last night. Not the nice raked balls across to Bowden or anything like that. The fact that he ran into Gary Caldwell when he definitely didn't need to. Yeah. And then McGuinness is just like a classic, prick of a striker that I bet he'd be a lot of fun at the pub afterwards. I bet he's a lovely guy, but it's just when you get him on the football pitch, he's an ass basically.
They're all just like they obviously had three at the back, didn't they? The three centre backs were I just thought they were all a bit petty, really. But anyway, why, apart from not scoring a goal, why did we not win?
Why did we not win? We didn't get a goal when our momentum was really, was telling, right? So there's two reasons here. We'll talk a little bit about it. So the momentum is important in games, and we didn't pick up a goal, when we were actually playing well. I think it's difficult because I think they did good to get on this, but the most egregious one is probably when Savage managed to cross to the back post. And Bowden was on the back post there and managed to, get the volley on it. I thought it was a decent connection to get the volley, but you needed to get a bit more power on it to just smash it past that keeper. If we go up 1-0 at that point, then we might be looking at quite a different game. But, we've seen Reading, like against Wigan, keep chugging along in the game and continue to produce. So Reading really, they just weren't producing much, even when they had position, periods of dominance in the game. Again, the same shot deficit that I've been talking about, especially in the Knoll versus Sellers video showed up. So Exeter had more shots than us last night, despite us having 60% possession. They were able to go up the field faster. If you look at the sort of pass charts, you can see that they were consistently able to get to our box, whereas we were kind of consistently able to get to the edge of the third, and then it would kind of stop up there. We really just couldn't progress into the box. Let me ask you a question. Did it feel like to you last night there was the same number of crosses attempted by both teams? I mean, it's a bit of an abstract question.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, to me, it felt like Exeter were, planning an aerial assault, whereas Reading were just sort of, frittering around the edges. It didn't feel like a game where both teams had the same number of crosses. The only really good one I remember is Wings across the front that, again, the stupid midget goalkeeper, managed to push away.
I wasn't. Full disclosure, I wasn't in the stadium last night.
Mm.
I watched it at home, and the disinterest that I had in the game from about 5 minutes after it started was because normally I'm quite good at just like concentrating on one thing. So if I'm not one of those people that if I'm watching a film at home, I'll sit there on my phone, I'll just watch the film, or whatever. I don't tend to do that. But last night, honestly, I was actively trying to do things to not watch the game. I was that bored.
I thought
Um,
you'd be happy with the first 15 because Savage was running the show.
yeah, but like I think the problem is that everything now is very very stale. So
Mm.
the players are trying really really hard. In my heart of hearts, I don't. When we've been in this position before, and it's been a long time since we've been in a playoff hunt, but every game has been like, come on, let's do it, let's go for it. But the as we said previously, and I know it's ironic because I was like the attendances are poor and I didn't go last night, and that's why I'm being completely honest with you.
Yeah,
Like,
it is
I just
partially your fault. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But it's very, very difficult to get excited about what is going on the pitch and obviously off it
It's
completely.
kind of
Like,
similar to the Stam season, right? Like
exactly right.
when things were going well points wise, right? Like points were coming onto the board, but it wasn't going so well, in terms of entertainment. Like football is entertainment; it's what you pay money to do instead of going to the cinema or whatever
Yeah.
on a Saturday. So you do
And
expect to have a good time.
I've watched some absolute rubbish from Reading. Like
Yeah,
I've watched this under Nigel Adkins, right? So I know what's bad. I've seen this under Brendan Rodgers. I know bad Reading teams.
yeah.
Um, and I can see the endeavour. I can see the desire. I can see the commitment. I can see the want to get points on the board and do well. And as I've said previously, like I like Noel Hunt, I do, but I feel very much worn down by the whole process in
I
terms of off the
understand that.
field stuff. And I was
It's
like, you know what? I just don't want to go. It's like I just got to the point where I was like, I got home and I was like, I don't want to go out again to sit on
yeah.
my own in a block on my own in the freezing cold to watch this when I could just sit in my living room and watch it. And I know that's really awful, but I'm just being completely honest with everybody. And I promise I won't let you down again. But I just couldn't be bothered. I just couldn't
Yeah.
be bothered.
It's tough. I think it is tough when your team isn't really producing much in terms of like Hunt has come in and as we've said many times made the team more solid, less spectacular. I just mean that in terms of like we're not attacking as much. We're
Yeah.
defending better, but we're not attacking as much. It makes for stodgy, boring games. Like I'll do while you're getting the mailbag ready, I'll go and look at how many 0-0s under Hunt versus
It
Sellers because I
was,
have a feeling he might have
yeah. Go
already
on.
surpassed
It
Sellers'
was a
numbers.
great, it was a great advert for League One football last night. It really was, and
Yeah, right.
of the two, Exeter will be happier with the point than we will. But I do think it's 2 points dropped, given what good point you made about Shrewsbury. These
One,
games will cost us a playoff position, in my opinion, and that
I
I'm
agree.
fine with that. Overall, I'm fine with it. As I said, we finished top 10. It's a bloody great season. I think expectations were raised with Sellers in terms of where we are. You look at Walsall as well, league below, who before the start of the season weren't anywhere in anyone's discussion about going up. We're pretty much there with the automatics over Christmas and into the new year, and now are dropping and dropping and dropping, still in with a shout of a playoff. But their fans are now calling for his head as a manager, right? So where do you sit in football? You overachieve, you stitch yourself up. It's the way it is, and I think for
Tricky.
us, and we've got a really big question after the mailbag that I'm going to pose to Ross and to you guys listening, really. But where we are now is not the worst thing in the world.
It's not. I was thinking that as I was watching Exeter yesterday. I was one of the main things I was thinking when I was watching their team play and the energy they had yesterday. I was like, this is the position we've been in the last few
Oh,
years.
yeah, for sure.
This is where we've been. Like we have not been the team. We have not been the fact that we're getting annoyed about the fact that we can't beat these easier to beat teams at home shows how far we've come in the last year. And
Yeah.
it's tough because, like football fans, including myself, are impatient. They want things to move even faster. But yeah, compared to last year, compared to the year before, it is quite a lot. Last quick thing on the fact that we don't create a whole lot anymore. Sam Smith, for everything, for all of the chances that for all the chances that he missed, he still scored quite a few chances, and on top of that, he generated a lot of XG by himself. He was the one that would actually get the shots off. So losing him, I think personnel wise it's been an issue to deal with. So yeah, I sympathize in that regard, but would like to see the team be a bit more expansive at home.
I think it's been an interesting couple of games, really. I think under Sellers, we would have lost the game against Wigan, but under Sellers, we would have won last night. So, it's one of those 4 points out of 6, like, in football terms and in normal terms, that's all right. But I do think had we won last night, we'd still be going, okay, playoffs are looking strong. But now, I know it's only 4 points, but you look at the teams and the quality that they have and, the kind of form they're in and all this kind of stuff. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for us now. But I might be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I would go up. But anyway, that's by the by. We're going to move to the mailbag. It's bulging this week. Incredibly, people got loads to say. It's weird how it flicks. Some week you can hear it.
When we beat Wrexham next Tuesday, you'll be saying we're right back in for the playoffs.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, when we go to Crawley, the worst place on the planet, and we beat them,
right,
6 points out of the next 2 games, we're back straight in the hunt.
Exactly right.
Call this the fickle club.
Yeah.
Right, we'll be back.
Send in your views to the tilehurstend@gmail.com and have your say in the mailbag.
Welcome back to episode 410 of the Tilehurst End podcast. Sorry for the pause just then. I pressed the wrong button and I was trying to talk, but I was on mute. So that is why there might be a slight pause, which probably will be edited out by the time you actually listen to this. So yeah, right. Mailbag is really, really full. Before we do that, people watching on YouTube, because we are on YouTube, you might have seen that I like to drink a lot on this pod. And when I say drink a lot, it's not all alcohol based. So I started with some water in a glass.
Okay.
It's pretty much done. And then I had a sugar-free can of Sprite. Okay. And now I've moved on to this. And this, I don't know if you can, you can see this, Ross. People that are listening audio can't. So this is from Phantom Brewery, which is just down the road from me.
Oh,
and what they've done is, I don't think I'm allowed to say it, but you can see what film that's supposed to be depicting. And it's a pale ale at 4.7%. It's called Boat. And it's absolutely delicious. Absolutely delicious. So if anyone's listening from Phantom Brewery and you want to send Ross some free beers, just do it. And we'll big you up. If you're not listening from Phantom Brewery, but you do live in the Caversham, Tilehurst area, get down there because it's a really great place. And they show rugby on during the Six Nations. So, right.
I've
Advertising
worked out the nil-nils. Well, now that you've done the free ad read, I've worked out the nil-nils.
The synergy is unreal on this pod. It's like we're on a link or something. Yeah, go on.
All right. So I wanted to see how many. I was like, I think some people are calling it skeeting on Blue Sky, but the less said about that, the better. Yeah, bad. Anyway, I think I made a post last week that was like, loves a 0-0, no Hunt. Yes, the science says he does indeed love a 0-0. So number of 0-0s for Sellers in his entire time, 2. One against Burton very early in his career, and then the Brighton under 21s game in the Car Cup where we went out on penalties. Hunt is already on 4.
There you go, doubles.
Yeah, so snake eyes for Hunt right there. So Hunt, including 3 in his last 6, have been 0-0. So not only has Hunt already doubled Sellers' number of 0-0s, he's accelerating the number of 0-0s that Reading are playing in. So exciting stuff. Get down to the stadium.
I mean, mate, if we're not selling tickets on this, then we're not doing anything, are we? Right, what did we actually ask? So what went wrong against Exeter? How confident you're feeling about playoff charge? Literally anything else you fancy bringing up. And then there was some filth slander from Sim about me not writing the tweets. I don't have the login to our X or Blue Sky account. I don't even have to log into the email, so we can shut his
Yeah.
mouth.
Yeah.
Right, Chris Scott, C Scott.
Mm.
I don't think it's the first time you've chipped in with a comment. Maybe you have before, but yeah, comment about last night. We were poor the entire game. Felt like many clutching at straws to say we were good first half. Lethargic, uninventive, and seriously lacking in the final third. We're nowhere near a playoff team, league position or not. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair assessment of last night.
I
As I
think we
said
are
earlier,
near a playoff team, but only because the league quality is not as good as
yeah,
we think. Like if you look now, like there's a top 10 that's kind of pulled away
exactly
from
right.
the rest of the league, and you're right, Reading are probably not a playoff team. Like I've been predicting them to make the playoffs all year, and I'm starting to think, yeah, it's starting to slip away just a little bit if they can't show that they can create more. But they are one of the best 10 teams in the division. Yeah, they're probably at the bottom rung of that. But
Well,
there's a good basis here.
Look, I mean, we're eighth currently on 54 points, and then Orient below us on 53 points. They've had a game, or they've got a game over us. So we got a game in hand on them, and then Barnsley are on 52 points and they're 10th, and there's about there is a 5 point gap between them and Stevenage, who are in 11th. So that's quite a nice buffer to be or to have, not to be. You can't be a buffer, can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, we're 4 points off it. We've got a game in hand. Bolton are just above us on 57 points. Realistically, I think it's going to be between those seven. Birmingham are already up. They'll be
Bolton
first.
are really starting to pull away as well. If anyone hadn't noticed, since they brought in their new manager, I think we're the only team that have beaten them. That's like their only loss in the entire run they've had. So Reading are unbeaten, maybe I think in 6, but they're not
doesn't tell
necessarily
the true picture, though, does it?
It
Not
doesn't
really.
No. Yeah, it's 4 draws and 2 wins, which again lines up with what we've been saying: less spectacular, more solid. But yeah, so
I think it's an interesting point about clutching straws. I think what I've noticed is there is a lot more positivity around the team than there has been in recent weeks, maybe because of the news about off the pitch stuff in terms of that potentially moving again, and we use the word
definitely.
potentially very, very lightly. But I would agree with you, Chris. I thought we were pretty bad, and we should have won the game on paper and probably on the balance of the game itself.
I think Exeter should have won. I think we got incredibly lucky. Exeter generated almost 2 XG. We think we got very lucky. If Exeter weren't, any Exeter fans that they're not.
I wish I hadn't said anything now.
Yeah. Let me go. Yeah. I'm just. I told you I was going to rant today.
You couldn't jump in quick enough, could you? When I said that,
no, I couldn't. Any Exeter fans listening, and you're not listening, so it doesn't matter. Your team.
You look like you're wearing an Exeter shirt. That's my comeback.
I do. Yeah. It's a Paraguay shirt. Anyway, Exeter fans, let me address you. Your team was shite. If you were any good whatsoever, you would have beaten us 3 or 4. There were multiple times where their midfielders or strikers had chances to shoot in the box from about 10 yards away, and they kicked it into Ben's empty seat in the Dolan instead, no matter which way they were facing. So Exeter, a good team would have won that match 3 or 4. Anyway.
I feel like you've turned into a white-haired monster now, and I'm just like a small chap asking for an arms deal. That's what I feel like right now. It's getting told up. Well, yeah, okay. Jack Jones, 1892. Is there an argument that he should have made changes last night? Given a huge performance on Saturday, play the likes of a Braithwaite, Akande from the start to then bring on more experience at the end. Also feel like it's worth saying Garcia and Wing have been way off it for weeks. Do you think he should have made changes from Saturday?
I was a little.
He could have.
Yeah. I was a little surprised. I think that I would have maybe, like, if we're playing FIFA and you can just switch in anyone, I might have maybe gone for Akande, over Bowden for that particular game. But then Bowden was one of Reading's, better performers in the first 20 minutes. He was one of the few getting into the box. So it's kind of tricky. I do think that we are running out a little bit of, extra personnel who could help. I'd really like to see Ben Elliott back before the end of the season. I think that would make a big difference to the creativity. I'd like to see Tom Carroll play and to see what that does to Wing and Wing's positioning, because I think that we really need a plan B to get Wing into different positions, or we need to have an adjustment that we know how to do quickly, so that if a team starts to just lock onto Wing and stop him from being able to create, we have something else we can go to.
On the Tom Carroll thing, obviously he didn't get any minutes last night, which is probably understandable given the fact he's just walked through the door.
And given what we just saw at Bowden, it might take him a few weeks. Yeah,
absolutely. But who would you drop for Tom Carroll?
He's trying to get me to say Savage. I might give Nibs a rest on midweeks to let him be more effective for weekend games. If you play Nibs once a week rather than twice a week, I think you'll get a lot more out of him just because of the player that he is. It doesn't surprise
Nibs
me.
up, potentially?
I think that's if Wareham really stops producing between now. I would give Nibs a rest. I think Nibs is tired. And again, I just think that his game is running after people, and if he can't run after people, then his skill set becomes quite limited quite quickly. Whereas Savage,
I'll tell you who isn't tired. Tell you who's not tired.
Who's
Charlie
that?
Flippin' Savage.
Charlie Flippin' Savage. Well, yeah, he likes to run around.
He's not tired.
Now.
He's like a Duracell bunny.
Yeah. But I'd like to see maybe some way to get him the ball more when Wing's not getting it. And again, maybe we should have had a goal off of Bowden last night. But
the goal involvements in the midfield have dropped off massively. I think Wing's without one since the start of the year, isn't he?
I think so.
Assist or goal.
If you can get the angle of the last shot that he had last night in injury time, he gets a horrible curl bounce. I don't even know how you want to call it with that, but the ball kind of whips up in the air and it starts going towards the far corner, into the side netting, and then it sort of catches, either he's curled it wrong or it catches the wind or whatever, and it starts curling back in towards the goalkeeper. And I was like, if that starts curling the other way, that's a goal, and everyone's going, okay, cool, what a fun game, 3 more points.
But this is football, isn't it? This is where we are at the moment. We are holding on to very, very small bits and scrapping. So, that's where we are. We win that game and there's no problem. There is no problem now, but the complexion just looks different. Even though you will say we didn't deserve to win. So
we definitely didn't deserve to win last night.
We talked about right back already. It is tough on the squad, but that's what they've got to do at the moment. That's the job. That's what they're currently faced with, and they we've got to find ways to be able to negate the issues that brings with it. Really, so I think we're doing all right, all things considered. Would
you start Yedam as soon as he's match fit, or would you keep persisting? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I probably would.
It's just an out and out right back. Do you know what I mean? Just go. You know the role. You've done it for years. Just go and play right back.
Yeah, I have a feeling him and Chem will be able to have some pretty nice link-ups too. They seem like players that would be able to move together pretty nicely. So, yeah.
Anthony Kendrick, just look leggy with their legs, Ross.
Yeah, lots of legs. lots of legs looking leggy.
For me, it's when, not if, the group hits a wall, which is why I've struggled to get excited about the thought of playoffs. League One schedule is taxing for the best teams, let alone a threadbare bunch made up of far too many young players. It's a good point. I've said before, the most frustrating thing for me with any football fan is when they talk about league games, go, it was a game too far. Well, it's not, is it? It's not. If you're talking about tournament football, okay, there is an argument to suggest that, but we know that we're playing X amount of games, so it's not a game too far, is it?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Do you know, it's really grates on me when I see that written or hear people say that. Because it's not like, we've got to play suddenly on Tuesday. Not like a Sunday league team trying to cram in games at the end of a season because you've had waterlogged pitches.
Right, yeah.
I never played at any good level, right? But I once played 490 minutes in 1 week.
Well, there you go. You should be playing in midfield.
I should be playing, mate. I tell you, yeah. But that's a game too far, right? For someone who is not cut out for that. So, we do look tired.
Yeah,
And
I think we
it is a
definitely looked.
different
But
schedule.
I'm
Yeah, go
the
on.
one thing I'm keeping my eyes on in terms of tiredness is the amount of strapping on Mbenge's leg. Mbenge's right leg is very strapped up right now. And so you'll be really happy to hear that in the first minute of the game against Exeter, he went up for a header and came down on it in a very uncomfortable manner and was, sort
Have
of
you got a
looked.
notepad?
I don't
Like,
have a
just
note.
write
Well,
it
no,
down.
that's what I'm doing when I'm doing ratings, isn't it? I'm scribbling down.
How many
Uh,
pieces of strapping on Mbengo?
how many pieces of strapping? It goes right next to my worst places in the UK according to Ben list.
You'll be counting glucose gels next. You know those little things that they put on for
Exactly,
filling in.
exactly.
That's
But I
fatigue. That's
think that
fatigue time.
Mbenge, is an interesting one. He's on the list of people whose contracts are expiring in the summer. I think that if he gets injured and can't play, in the back 10 games of the season or whatever, yes, that will have an effect on Reading in terms of their results. But I think it's going to be quite interesting for us as fans because
Mm.
I don't know who the successor to Bindon is right now. I think that there have been some guys that have come and
I
shown
don't want to think
flashes.
about it. Quite
No, I
frankly, I
know.
don't
I think
want
there's
to
been
think about
guys that have shown flashes of ability, but nobody's really
it.
consistently been the guy yet. So, and maybe Mbenge's not even here. So I think that there is room between now and the end of the season for a centre back to kind of make a claim that, hey, I should be one of the people starting
Yeah,
come
yeah.
August. Yeah.
Loyal Royal, Royals till I die. Taken together, these are two good results. See how different it is in a mailbag. Like that's just a cross section of
It's
this is
good,
eight
right? But
people.
again,
Well,
this is what mid to top 10 looks like.
yeah, exactly.
It's debate and disagreement. It's not everything's terrible and I want to, yeah, anyway.
2 points a game takes you up.
True.
Amazing at Wigan. We're still finding our feet. Team can only grow each game. If that, what happens, it will benefit from one or two key signings. I mean, I'd
I
go
agree
12
with that.
signings.
Well, yeah, but I see where this is coming from. I was kind of thinking this as well the other day. If there was, let's say, Reading are able to bring in 3 players between the ages of 23 and 28 who are able to create some threat, like in forward play, just able to cut out threat or whatever. I think that this team is not that far away from being a proper promotion contender in this league because, again, I just don't think the league is that good. Like, I think that we are one of the best 10 teams in the league right now. I think that the record, and I think the underlying numbers are a little bit worse than the record, don't get me wrong, but I do think that we are a top 10 team. And so if you go and you put in extra players to help them out, it could get very good very quickly.
I mean, you look at the Championship relegation picture at the moment. There are some proper big teams in that mix.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they come down. You're like, it changes the complexion of the league hugely. Absolutely blows it out of the water next season.
Well, we thought that about Rotherham, though, right? Like Rotherham, we thought were
Yeah,
going
I
to
mean,
come down, and they spent money, and we thought that they would be able to put on a decent performance. I think there's been quite a few larger teams this season that haven't really performed. I think so.
well,
Huddersfield and Birmingham obviously have come down, and Birmingham are just a bit of a different case.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
this is the mix at the moment, right? So from the bottom up in the Championship, Derby, Plymouth, Luton, Cardiff, Stoke, Hull, and
they pulled
Oxford.
clear though.
Oh, and
Oh,
Portsmouth.
yeah.
But I mean that's a lot of, apart from
Oxford are in
Oxford,
free
who are a
fall as
complete
well.
waste of time and a pointless club, and no one cares about them except people from Oxford, and even
Yeah,
then, there's about 3.
yeah.
There are some big clubs there,
Yeah.
some
Yeah,
really
but
big clubs.
Derby, I mean, like have been in this division, in recent history. They're still rebuilding, and I mean,
I
Luton are the
mean,
one that is really interesting. Like
and
they
Cardiff.
could collapse. I mean, Cardiff have been having issues for 5 years or so, but
But imagine
the
Aaron
yeah,
Ramsey in League One. Imagine.
well, I can imagine that. I feel like, yeah, they're loving it these days. But this is the thing with the championship. It's getting better and better like every single year. It's tough to predict.
It
It always
is.
has been. But yeah, I shouldn't talk about the championship. That's, looking too high.
Yeah. And come what may, Watford are still 10th in that league.
Yeah.
So,
I
it
think
just goes to show, doesn't it?
I like that Tom Delhi Bashiru has become like a solid championship player, but I like
Good
that.
player.
I like that.
Good player.
Yeah, good player, nice lad. Like, just does his work, but also a little bit of skill. Like, yeah, and
A
he's
great
always got a
name
good
as well.
haircut. Great
Yeah.
name. Great name. Yeah.
John House, a Brayfoot at right back, please. Don't get the logic there at the moment. Yeah, you and me both, John, agree.
A beefy Brafer. That's what I want.
Yeah, he has to start on Saturday. I don't think he can persist with Rashisha. Playoffs
Oh,
may be
wait,
too
but
much.
Rashisha, real quick, watch his TikToks because they're funny.
No,
And I
I
like them.
don't look at TikToks. I'm not.
Doesn't
12.
matter. Go find them. You can get them on Google if you're an old man. So just like type in Tivonge Rashisha TikTok, and he likes to review clothes. He wears women's t-shirts and various other things from the women's section because he says they fit better. So if you're looking for fashion tips, Tiv Rashisha is the man for you, is what I'm saying.
Playoffs may be too much given squad size, current injuries, and lack of senior players. When is Elliot back? It's been 12 weeks. I mean, it's been a long 12 weeks without Ben Elliott.
That's a really funny comment, by the way. When is Elliot back? It's been 10 weeks. That's got really good. Are we there yet? Vibes about it.
Dude, I suppose it was more the way I read it. I just didn't even look at it. I just read. It's just like,
I just liked it.
that
I
actually,
feel like that too. I feel like that too. Where's Elliot? Bring him back.
Yeah. Where's my flipping dinner?
Yeah.
It's been hours.
Right. And then when we get Elliot back, it's clear that he's been on the hot plate for, like at least a half hour.
Yeah. He's been fried in a deep skillet.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't heard anything about him coming back. Have you?
No, I haven't either. He seems to have
Like he's just forgotten about. Like
No.
I just imagine he's still on a pitch somewhere in Bearwood, just running.
He's under contract, so I'm not worried about it. He can't leave. He's not going anywhere.
Can't leave.
Yeah,
No one's
stuck.
leaving.
Right. Bearwood, like you say, he's stuck in Bearwood somewhere.
Yeah. Andy May, we were good in Wigan, but we're playing almost the same team 3 days later. A bit of fatigue kicked in. Maybe now we've reached 50 points and safe from relegation. Some of the regulars could be rested now and again. Playoffs are near, but we haven't got the squad to get there, I fear. I mean, these are all valid points, right?
These are all valid points.
From a mental point of view, what did both managers say when we had them on the pod? Sellers, get to 50 points. Noel Hunt, get to 50 points. We're at that. We've surpassed that. So there will be a kind of I'm not saying people are on a beach because that's not the case at all. But there is that mental thing of we're not going to get relegated now. And that was the goal, to stay in the league and to compete. And we have competed. So, from everyone's point of view, that 50 points clicks in. It's like, deep breath. We're all good sort of thing. So there could be something in that. I don't know.
We hit 53 points last season and we're at 54 now. And we have 12 more games to go. So
we've still got 12 left, have we?
We've got 12 blinking games left. I know. and we're already 4 points clear of where we were. So progress at the end of the day.
Yeah, huge progress. And on nothing. So, we have to be that's a really good reminder actually that's probably the headline of the pod in terms of that comparison you just made. Spot on. Jamie Wykes, are we going to learn to play against 5-3-2? Stockport, no. Blackpool, Shrewsbury and Exeter have all made us look blunt and we have no answers. Again, another good point.
It's another good point. And just to kind of back up what he's saying, Reading do have a lot of issues against back threes, back fives, whatever you want to call them. I've always called it a back three, and I'm suddenly hearing people calling it a back five, but whatever. That's just me.
I guess what the expectation of the wing backs is.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just moaning for no reason. Yeah, we have issues with it.
Did Blackpool play 5-3-2?
I thought they played a pretty standard 4-4-2 out of possession that day, Blackpool, and we got caught by them winning the ball back high a couple of times. But anyway, I digress.
Steve Bruce Ball, mate. He's a god.
It's Steve Bruce Ball. Yeah, exactly. To be fair to Steve Bruce, 4-4-2 these days out of possession, quite trendy. Yeah,
I love Steve Bruce.
Oh, you do? Okay, nice. Yeah. Yeah. We're not good against back threes. That's correct. There are too many players in wide spaces where we often like to progress the ball. We don't have the players to consistently beat a man, which means that we really struggle with it. So, yeah, true.
Steve Rex, great name. I think we said this last
Steve
time.
Rex is back.
Rexter.
Right. Yes.
Surprised Noel didn't give Carroll 10 minutes at the end.
Me too. I mean, maybe he's not got any gas in the tank, but then why did you bring him in?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a little bit surprised that he didn't get any time either. But hey, we saw that Bowden needed a little bit of time before he was, able to give a good half-hour account of himself. So, yeah, I think without going overboard on Bowden, he was the best he's been in a Reading shirt against Exeter for half an hour, and then he calmed down massively. And his big issue is that he just can't get down the field quick enough. He simmered down. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, look, I mean, if you needed a kind of an overview of where the fans are, that mailbag was a delicious example of that.
Yeah, that was
lots of really good points, lots of differing views, respectfully written, I have to say. So thanks for that.
Apart from the one about Elliot, where is he?
But it's good. It's good to miss players sometimes. It's quite nice to. And then
the best
when
player
they have a bad game, everyone's like, get him out.
Yeah, it's always the case though that the best player on your team is the player who's not playing.
Always
the case. Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
Good mailbag that one.
Yeah, really good mailbag. Final question for you, Ross. Do you want us to go up? Yes or no?
Yes. And I think my answer to this is always yes. And I understand. So the debate here is, are we ready? Are we playing well enough that if we went up to the championship, would we be able to regularly put in performances? I can understand why at this stage of the season, 2/3 of the season done, it may seem that, no, we're not ready. However, I think that teams go up and then they kind of work it out every year. So I don't know if anybody would have expected Oxford to go bursting up the league in the first half of the season and just completely outstrip Portsmouth. I think most people would have said Portsmouth would have been the team that are more ready for the championship last summer. And then Oxford went in and just completely blew that idea out of the water. So I think that teams can react to the situation. I think that a summer off is a huge thing for a lot of these guys. And remember what we were doing last summer is we were beating teams in the championship in preseason. So these players can beat championship players. Lewis Wing is a championship player to all intents and purposes. Yes, we would need players, but if we go up and a takeover is done, then I think that puts us in a very good position to build the squad for 5 years. Even if we go down that season, we will be able to put together a decent team of players that we can say, look, we are a yo-yo club between these two divisions at the moment. So yeah, I always think that it's best to go up. You take the money and you run, basically.
Yeah. I think,
what about you?
Yeah, I do. I think you've got to take these opportunities when they come around. There's nothing to say that, look, it is dependent on the takeover. That there will be money coming in if that does happen, and then we'll get players in. But there's no guarantee those players will gel, and we will be in this position again. We could end up being in League One for the next 4 or 5 seasons.
Right.
It doesn't always work like that. I think, given the season that we've had, I think it would be nice to be in the playoffs for sure. I just don't think we're capable of it.
Being able to stabilize here isn't bad either.
Yeah, exactly.
Bolton went all the way down to League 2 before they managed to start their march back up. So,
but yeah, I mean, I think taking the chances is the key to all this, because, as I said, you never know when you're going to be back there. And who doesn't love a promotion? I mean, I hear a lot of people going, "I'll be disastrous." Well, I don't think
fun police. Nah.
I don't think it's disastrous. Could be less fun, but
would be quite funny if we got promoted, or we got into the playoff final or whatever, and then there was a pitch invasion because we got into the playoff final, and then we get deductive points, because exactly. We're not allowed to go on the pitch.
You no longer go to Wembley. Do not pass go.
Right. We've given your opposition a 3-goal lead for that.
I just, at some point, we will go up through the playoffs. That's, statistically speaking, that will be the case.
Big if true.
But we will, though. It's just the reality of the situation, and I would love to have a season where we just focus on football, even if that means that we're in the relegation zone for the whole season in the Championship. I would I would love that in a lot of ways, because you just focus on the football and you whinge about the football and all the rest of it. So
Yeah.
given where we've been off the pitch, 100%. I'd love us to go up. Love us to go up.
Love it.
We talking of teams stagnating. I was doing some reading on Crawley. They spent 9 seasons in League Two before they came up this season. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
9 seasons in League Two, just like great.
They were on their way up in the middle of the 2000s, though, as I remember, right? They had Steve Evans and his blinking dog managing them for quite a while they were on their way up, and they had that original like FA Cup game against Man U when they were on their way up, as I remember. Yeah, so they are kind of like a smaller club. I feel like I kind of have them in the same level as Stevenage. Anyway, I'll slag them off in the preview.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna do that now. Crawley Town, 12:30 kickoff on Saturday. See you in a bit.
There's another huge game ahead for the Royals, so be loud and be proud for the big match preview.
All right, welcome back to the final part of episode 410 of the Tilehurst podcast, proudly sponsored by ZCZ Films. Here with Mr. Ross Webber, as always. We're chatting Crawley, one of the worst places I've ever been. Absolutely flipping dreadful place to get to, but also just to be with. Like, I last went there, I'm trying to think, we had an FA Cup game, and not ironically, but Hope Akpan scored really early on with an absolute screamer.
Oh, yeah.
And then 3 days later, we signed him. Dreadful. I mean, we won the game, I believe. But
that's just a classic old school football transfer. Like, the only one that's better is signing a man from the World Cup who managed to play 4 good games in his career and then wasting 6 million.
We do it with Nick Blackman as well.
Yeah, but he came good.
We played Derby and then we signed him as well. Like, we went through a spell of like
Shani Aluko as well.
Yeah,
yep, played him, and
but
then
Hope Akpan, he scored a belter, and then we signed him.
Wow, there you go.
I'm sure he scored. He played in the game anyway, but he was on the pitch. But someone scored a belter. I'm sure it was Hope. I'm sure I could Google it, but I can't be bothered.
I'm willing to go along with your story.
In fact, I want to Google it. I'm going to do that.
All right. Well,
I don't even know when it was.
Crawley, then, listeners. While Ben gets to Google it. And so, Ben's right. They are not doing so hot at all. They are sitting down in the relegation zone, 7 points adrift from safety, and they haven't won in at least 5. They've lost their last 3 on the bounce. So, really not going so well for Crawley. But again, Shrewsbury, who are now bottom of the league, by the way, and have only not lost in 1 game since they played us. They were down in the relegation zone, and we've seen that Reading have had some issues against them. So I think that we'll be hoping this is a game more like the Cambridge away game, where we are able to create for periods of the game. And I think the key is going to be capitalizing on that momentum. I do think that we'll be better. I think that this will be more similar to Wigan than it will be to the Exeter game, just because Crawley need to come out and do something, or they are going down. They have to come out and attack, or they are going down. So I would expect that to play into Reading's hands a little bit. But it'll be very interesting to see. But they are going nowhere fast right now, Crawley.
It wasn't Hope Akpan. It was Nicky Adams. I mean, I never would have got that. It was one. He scored in 1 minute.
Very nice. There you go.
So,
but we won that game, right?
3-1. No Hunt scored.
Oh, very nice too. Very nice.
Playing up front with Alf. Alf got 2 goals that day. So we had a good team that day. Actually, we had a really good team. Yeah. Anyway, dreadful place. Not great at all.
Dreadful place. Dreadful team. F off.
Yeah, exactly. Let's have it, Crawley.
Back 3, by the way. I know we've just talked about that.
Or is it a back 5?
Yeah, well, or is it a back 5? Exactly, yeah. But it's been working for them recently. But it is a back 3.
You would expect us to get something out of the game, wouldn't you?
I'd hope so. I mean, like this, we need some momentum before we play Wrexham. I'm sure that the players are going to, be able to get themselves up for that game, despite it being a midweek thing. And we've said that teams have been having, we've been having trouble with the midweek games just because of the recovery time.
Yeah.
But I think that people are going to be fired up for that. Nibs will really want to win that game, to shove it in Smith's face. I'm sure Smith will come and pick up some bits and bobs from his house as well when he's back here. So, we'll be looking for momentum.
Those plastic fans that didn't attend last night's game will turn up to the Wrexham game.
You would hope they would. Yeah.
You'd think that you would, wouldn't you?
You would imagine that they would. Speaking of Wrexham, this particular fixture, by the way, this is the one that got moved. Because do you remember earlier in the season we had an email from a nice guy who foolishly put his travel plans in our hands? And asked, when he should come to,
I laughed.
Yeah. When should I come to Reading, for a game or whatever? And we went through the whole pod, told him, come for the Wrexham home game or whatever. Get that out, get the pod out, send the email back, and then Sim goes, "What, the game that's probably going to be postponed because of the FA Cup game?" So if you were that man,
I mean, if that person is still listening, fair play. I mean, I'm really sorry.
They're still in Reading. They've been waiting for this game for 3 months.
I don't know. I just got the giggles, and I don't know what happened. And then obviously we told you to book a game that didn't actually go ahead.
It didn't exist.
So
let us know if you got to see us lose to Burnley, though.
Let us know. Let us know what you ended up doing.
Real quick, I know I said a million things about Exeter. There's a lad who travelled all the way from New Zealand for that game.
Yes, I did see that. That's awesome. Yeah,
it is awesome, and then he gets a 0-0.
Yeah, but that's football, isn't it? That
is football. Yeah,
that is football. I'm just laughing about this guy, and I don't know why, and I'm really ashamed of myself. It just made me laugh, and then we told him the wrong game.
If you had a nice trip and you did, enjoy the game, the FA Cup game, that you got to go to that game, let us know, because I'm
also leave us a review on the
no, don't do that.
Listen to us on.
Yeah, terrible for directions.
Oh God. Anyway, look, the games are coming thick and fast. We are where we are. We're in an all right position given everything, but we are hoping that we can somehow sneak into the playoffs. I think it's going to be very difficult, but we are still fighting. Crawley 12:30 kickoff. Reminder that is on the telly box, and also the Wrexham game is on the telly box as well. So that's 3 games consecutive.
I'm going to the pub for that one. I'm excited.
Well, the Wrexham game.
Yeah, because they.
What was that, like 8 o'clock in the morning for you or something?
No, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon because it's Tuesday game, and I don't know, the clocks change in the next few days or whatever over here.
Do you reckon it'll be on that thing in America? America, what are we talking about? Like, the thing I'm talking about, the immersive experience thing. Is it in LA?
Oh yeah. Do I think it'll be on the big immersive sports bar in LA?
Do you think it will be on in America? And you've just gone, I'm going to the pub to watch it.
Yeah, right. Like, yes, it will be on. No, yeah. They do Wrexham games there, right? You mentioned a few weeks ago, it's Wrexham v Birmingham. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I saw an advert. They're doing the EFL in America. They did Derby and Middlesbrough.
Yeah. It's good. It's good that they're getting it out there. Do you know why they're doing that? I'll do it. I'll give you a very brief summary. But there's the Hearts of Pine shirt on my wall here, who are starting in USL later this year. The USL is a 3-tiered system. The team that I coach for are actually in the 3rd tier of that system. So basically there are 3 tiers, but they don't have promotion and relegation right now. They are getting very interested in potentially bringing that in. So a lot of fans in America who are into football, soccer, have been kind of watching lower league stuff to see what that promotion relegation stuff is about. So it is quite interesting. There is a bigger understanding for sure about the lower leagues being exciting because promotion is there as an incentive, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that draws to a close episode 410. If you're going to Crawley, very best wishes for that. Try and enjoy it. I will not be going to Crawley. So, enjoy it. I think we sold out really quickly as well, actually.
Okay.
The away sport's been phenomenal. In this period, it's been absolutely phenomenal. It really has.
100%.
Just incredible. So, fair play to all of you for doing that and carrying on doing it. Have a good rest of your week. We'll be back realistically probably next Wednesday after the Wrexham game. Because
probably a week from today, yeah.
Yeah, probably a week from today. So we'll be back next week. Enjoy yourselves, but enjoy it by being disciplined. And we will see you next time on the pod. Ross, enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you. Happy St. David's Day again.
For Saturday, but thanks. Yeah, always the 1st of March. Same every year.
Okay.
Every year.
Didn't even know it existed.
Harsh. But yeah, read it up on it. It's a great story. It's a really great story.
All right.
So yeah, have a good week, everybody. Let's hope for 6 points the next time we speak. And come on, you Ars.
It's